You're watching the Original Music Atlanta podcast.
All right, and we're back. Episode 7 of the Original Music Atlanta podcast. Today we have Ghost of You. We've got Cleve Willis, lead singer of Ghost of You. How you doing today, bud?
Hey, man. Pretty good. How you doing?
We're doing good. My name is Raymond Hems. This is Rick Gathman. We're just kind of doing some promotion for the bands that are coming up at the Atlanta Music Scene Festival at the 10 High, and that's March 12th. And your time slot is 8:10 p.m. at the 10 High.
Oh, that's a good one.
8:10. Yeah, I told Scully, listen, we're going kind of early because, we're older. I understand you guys are going on a little bit later. I understand.
Yeah. Hope's Anchor, we're going to be playing at 10:40. Now, you realize also, you say older, when you start noticing spring forward daylight savings time changes, and you actually like put them in your calendar, you're like, oh man, I'm going to lose an hour of sleep.
Oh yeah.
You're getting long in the tooth at that point.
Ray, I'm there, buddy.
Ray hates when I ask this, and I'm going to ask it every podcast, so he's just got to get used to it. How old are you?
Oh, we're telling real ages now. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Wow. I'm not going to tell mine. I just want to know how old you are.
You say your age every time.
Yeah, but you told me I can't anymore.
He's 64 years old. He says it every week.
I'm 60. Well, that's great because I'm actually 72.
Nice. Nice. You look great.
You do good,
dude. Yeah. As well as you do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what we're drinking in the coffee or something.
Could be. Yeah, I'm truthfully 54.
Yeah.
Wow, you do look great.
Thank you.
Now it's your turn. 49.
Okay, so we are in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
We're in the same ballpark. Yeah.
I just asked that so I know kind of what you know musically, like what kind of bands you may have listened
Generation.
to. Exactly.
Yeah. What did I grow up with? What am I listening
there
to?
You
sure.
Absolutely. See, you get it. Ray doesn't get it. He doesn't understand why I ask certain questions.
No, I get it. I think
it.
I think you really just asked to see if he knows what an 8-track tape is.
That could be.
Oh, I definitely know what that is. Not because I had them until later, but I did, and it's collectibles, and I can't find my storage 8-tracks now.
Oh,
kind of a bummer.
My very first one was Molly Hatchet.
Ooh.
And I bought it at Peaches Music in Cincinnati.
I had a Foreigner and a Black Sabbath and something else. But, God, that was what, 3rd grade, 4th grade?
Yeah. Do you guys, now let's just really show our age. Do you remember when the remote control for the TV
had a wire?
No, it had a wire first, but they actually came out.
No,
you don't remember that? Okay.
I really don't remember that. I remember my grandparents had it was a big one, and it was a clicker. It was an obnoxious clicker.
Yeah.
But that's the youngest I remember of that, and I didn't have any control over it at all.
What about?
I remember dial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What about the rabbit ears with foil balls?
Yeah, no, I got that.
Yeah.
I was able to have my parents let me have a TV in my room, so they got me a little one. I mean, it was color. Now, I remember watching the premiere. Oh my God, I don't know why we're talking about this, but I remember specifically watching, and it was late, buddy. I mean, I was up late, waiting for the Michael Jackson Thriller premiere.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
who wasn't?
Had those rabbit ears going.
Yeah.
Who wasn't?
Yeah.
I was in good company with literally most of the world, I guess.
Yeah. So. Well, since you bring it up, I have to bring this up. That was actually obviously a profound moment for you to remember where you were, what you were watching it on when you saw the Michael Jackson premiere video. I am going to give you a video that I feel if it affected me like a month ago, 3 weeks ago, the same way that I was affected when I saw the Michael Jackson video. And obviously we don't typically talk about signed bands and stuff, but hey, these guys are original and they are really good. But it's a band called Falling in Reverse, and the song is called Watch the World Burn. And this video is like when Michael Jackson came out and he just flipped the script on what music videos were going to be. And it was actually kind of like a cinematic. It was like going to a movie. But his was like 7 or 8 minutes. This video, Falling in Reverse, Watch the World Burn, is 3.5 minutes long. And it's like you're watching a 3-hour superhero villain movie. It's amazing.
Oh, wow. Well, see, I don't remember that, and it doesn't even register.
Yeah,
no, it's brand new. It's brand new. brand new.
Oh, it's new.
Yeah.
That would. I thought you were talking about old school stuff.
I hate too.
If you have a pen and paper, write this down. Falling in Reverse.
I do.
And the
I
song
will.
is called Watch the World Burn. And if you can watch that and not be jealous of the ability of their production team and their skills. I mean, the lead singer is amazing. Anyway, we digress. That was a great open.
I wrote it down though.
Yeah.
And I am gonna.
So did I.
Hey,
I'm
look,
in the same room.
It's
with
rare. It's rare that I find music that I kind of get, gets me going, and whatever genre. It's just rare that I find something that's like, oh man, like growing up, we heard probably countless things that just were like, oh my God, that's so good. Oh my God, that's good. I mean, Eagles, Boston,
Yep.
Of course, Tom Petty's one of my all-time favorites. John Cougar. I mean, you just hear all these things that are always just good, if not great. And now it's like, well, what's out there? And it's maybe it's partly generational for sure, but the other part of that is really what's out there.
Absolutely.
And, you got to hunt for it and find it. But apparently, I'm gonna have one in a minute. So Falling in Reverse.
Yeah, because it's the same way with me. It takes a lot to kind of impress me or to make me go tilt my head and go, wow.
Yeah, when we're growing up, that's the reason we've always had a piece or played music, right? Because we had all that music and it was just so undeniably, I mean, Aerosmith, I mean, it's just all undeniable, phenomenal, flawless almost. But the Keith Richards and the Slashes and the perfectly imperfect mistakes. And I think that's what's so great about it.
Yeah, no, they always came out.
It's not perfect.
No. So, name of the band, Ghost of You. Where did that come from? How long have you been around from Atlanta? Right? How long have you guys been around?
So we were all in different bands over the years, and Ghost of You, Blake came up with that name kind of on a fly, and we were all just like, all right, that's cool. Because what it is like Danny, Blake, and myself, and at the time Mike Froese was playing drums. We've all kind of been there, done that, had the 15 minutes and et cetera, blah blah blah. And we started doing this. Me and Danny just wanted to do it. And Danny was actually a hired gun and a national at the time, and Blake actually was too. And we just wanted to do something for fun. And my buddy Tuck Smith, he was working with me to write some new music. And then I was like, kind of unintentionally, I was like, well, maybe I'll put together some guys for funsies, and maybe we'll just play a show. I hadn't played an electric show in years, and I say years, a few. And then right before COVID, we were like, all right, let's do this, and we booked something at Smith's and upstairs, and to my pleasant surprise, we had an incredible amount of people show up, and it was a great fun thing. And then of course we all know everything changed.
Yeah.
I mean, that was probably 3 or 4 months before that. So as things progressed and we were able to find out more about being able to be around people and whatnot, Tuck and I started writing a little bit more. And during that time, we shot a couple of videos, wrote some more, and recorded some more, and did all that stuff. Yeah, it was taking advantage of a I guess a shitty situation, right? So
yeah.
So the name was just basically sounded cool. Because I told Ray, I was like, man, this is going to be a long, depressing story of how the name.
Oh no, man! It was just kind of like, no, not at all. It was just kind of like, my old band was this, and we've all had these bands. It was just kind of like,
it's
and
cool
band name. Thanks. I mean, of course, there's Ghosts, which is huge.
Yeah.
And but Blake, for some reason, he was like, "What about Ghost of You?" And I'm like, you know what? Let me think about it. And a day goes by. I'm like, you know what? That's kind of cool. It's just, we all were just like, okay, that's cool. Let's just roll with it.
It's catchy. It's memorable. It's good.
It's memorable enough, I think. It wasn't cheesy. And we thought, the whole thing was, I just didn't want anything too cheesy or too difficult. And,
right.
Because some 18 syllables, I don't,
yeah. Made up word of some sort. So I think also when you get to be our age and we'll say seasoned veterans, how many band name meetings have you had over your entire span of being a musician? And what was the first name of your very first band?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to skip the very first one, but I will jump into the second one.
Okay.
Band meetings, like how many meetings have I had both on the guys sitting in the room disputing and talking and arguing or getting along, and then the times where you're fighting and you have an actual we had a mediator at one point in a big room around a big table.
Wow. Hey,
because we hated each other so much. Yeah, that was when we had, a little bit of money behind the old band. But man, okay, so my first bands were, and this, going back to the Rec Room days.
Yeah, Rec Room.
Yeah, my angry metal, angry voice band that it was called Dakota.
Oh,
and
nice.
There'll probably be 3 or 4 people in the world who remember that. And we did get to play with, though, Stuck Mojo and a handful of other bands that were, at the time up and coming. But
sure.
Just what a cool thing for an 18-year-old, at my 18-year-old self, to be like, oh man, I saw Big Hate, Stuck Mojo. We get to open up for these guys at the time. Crawl Space, Seven Dust. So we were in that real angry. I was really angry for a long time.
Yeah.
So Dakota was the first one that actually kind of did anything worth mentioning.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned a few clubs. Were you into the the Magruder's and the Somber Reptile or what were some of the venues that you played back in the day?
Yeah, we did Somber Reptile a couple of times. And what was his name? It's funny. I'm involved in a documentary right now about the Atlanta music RTM, Rehearse Too Much.
Oh yeah,
Atlanta Rock Doc, and we're doing this documentary. I'm involved with, and we're talking to, again, generation half above you and me, like the Shane Mortons and the Joey Huffmans and all that stuff. But
we recorded a Hope Sanker record there.
Oh, there you go.
They just went those rooms.
So yeah, Magruder's very, very tail end.
Yeah.
I mean, literally the last week or two. And then I went to, of course, the Rec Room. I was, like a lot of us, underage going in there. And I remember, and I can't remember her name, there's a bartender underage that I hung out with a couple times. Then she was dating somebody else. And the rest of those stories.
Sure.
And the upstairs, did you ever go upstairs in the Rec Room to the dressing room, which was the attic? And it was like a really small, and the floor was kind of tilted. Oh, no. But it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. Oh my God, I can't believe we're talking. So Rec Room, of course, then we did The Edge. Yeah. Remember The Edge, which was kind of the King's Head to The Edge. It was the same. Yeah. Cindy Chapman took that over at the time, her and her ex-husband, and then of course The Point. I did The Point back in the day when it was open. Smith's Old Bar, The Point.
Masquerade.
Oh yeah, Masquerade, of course.
Yeah,
the real, I like to call it the real Masquerade. It's just such a vibe that you can't duplicate. I think like a lot of these places, of course. The Masquerade was it was just a staple in a regular spot when we were in town to play that, and Smithsonian Bar in particular. But back in the day, The Edge. I mean, we just hung out at The Edge. And speaking of Davey G and CC, I mean they lived at The Edge, I think. Practically. They were always there.
Yeah.
It's almost 24 hours a day. I'm like, what?
So you play Smith's Old Bar pre-elevator?
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, right?
Pre what?
Pre-elevator.
Yeah, I've yet to play with elevator. I've yet to play with elevator. It was all. Listen, here's what some of our age and generation people were talking about people playing there now. We're like, look, they need to kind of earn getting up there.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where you're making your money, right? Yeah.
Exactly. You're carrying that gear up, baby.
Yeah.
You are. Yeah. And it front or back, it don't matter. You're roughing it. Yeah. And it was wild. I did that. I can't even, I'm sure like you guys count the amount of times over the years that was the spot to earn that money. Yeah. Now the old Masquerade had an elevator, remember, and that was just kind of normal.
That was a scary lift. It wasn't an elevator.
Well, that's true.
Well, you're right. Yeah, it was a scary lift from the.
I have a really funny story about that lift.
It was.
I was touring with a national, and we were loading their gear up that lift, and the guitar player used 2 full Marshall stacks
Oh,
in a case,
Oh, road
Wow.
cases, yeah.
in road cases. So we got them up there. I mean you know who I'm talking about, but so we got everything up to the top and got it in, and then just to try to, finagle it around the corners just to get it onto the stage was like a whole nother battle. I don't know how we did it. Yeah.
Dude,
And it was the first show of a tour. So that was the hardest night of the entire tour, in my opinion, was I think that night.
Getting into
the first night.
Yeah.
Getting it in there and then on the stage and then, oh man.
Yeah. And then after that was, off across the country. But yeah.
Right.
So that was
So
and easier places to get into. I'm sure.
There was nothing like that.
That's what, a lot of the venues, if you've played around the country, a lot of them have taken into consideration load in and load out, but most haven't. Most haven't. You're pulled over on a side of a 2-lane busy Virginia Highlands road, and you got your flashers on. People are honking at you. You're just trying to get your gear out, roll it in.
Yeah.
What is the absolute worst, hardest load in? I think Smith's might be one of them, but
it's definitely.
What has been the nightmare load in of all load ins?
Oh my God, dude, that is hard. Whiskey a Go-Go.
Yeah.
Not so easy.
It's a street
the back
load,
alley.
Right? The back alley.
Yeah. Well, you got two options. You got the back alley if they let you, or the street.
Yeah.
From what I remember, we did that a couple times. Golly, a couple in. Man, now you are hurting my brain.
There are some tough
I'm thinking
ones.
about
There's
Austin. I'm thinking about
this is kind of a
South by Southwest.
Oh,
I'm thinking about all these Florida. I think there was a couple in Florida, New York, and there was man.
Yeah.
You got my brain hurt.
New
But there was
York,
definitely
for sure.
some.
Yeah,
New York was rough.
New York was rough.
Always
We
going to
did
be
a couple of shows over the years. Well, a few in New York, but yeah, I remember. I was like, what? I didn't even see a door. They have all the construction or the 10 things along the side, and you're just like, what? Are we? Is this even open? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. A lot of the time, you're
Danger,
like, oh my
danger. We did a load in one time where there was literally two blocks down. There was a fire, like bang, 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 gunfire going on.
A shootout?
A shootout going on. The police came. I mean, there's video of it.
Well, now you can get that here.
Yeah, in Chicago.
Well, I mean, so
yeah,
here in Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, that does
These
kind
are
of
tough questions, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't.
These are great.
I didn't tell you this was going to be kind of a quiz show.
No, I love that. Actually,
Yeah.
this is making it fun, and you're making my brain. You're making me think on the fly.
Well, memory lane.
I love it.
It's what it's all about. But the shootouts in the street during load-in.
Yeah.
That kind of leads me to my next question of.
Huh. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, my next question. Have you ever had a piece of your gear, equipment, bandmate's guitar stolen during a load in or load out, or at any time during a show?
You know what? We thought one was stolen. Mark Donnell's filled in for us one time in the old band. He did like 2 shows. Our guitar player couldn't do those, and we did 2 with Mark. And Mark Donnell's, we thought it got stolen. I don't know what guitar it was. I'm sure it was whatever. He's got great guitars. But it turns out he had left it. And he had to, after we left to go to the next city, he was going back to Atlanta anyway. And our guy was coming back to play with us. And Mark Donnell's got all the way back here. And then he realized, and so he called the club thinking it was stolen, whatever. Turns out it was at the hotel room, I think. And he had to drive or have it. No, he didn't. He didn't have it. He drove 6 hours or so back to this place to get the guitar.
And that's what I would
Love
do.
That.
That's what I would. Well, that's
Ray
what
would
I
definitely do that, or have somebody meet halfway.
Yeah.
I do have a good story where I saw when James Hall and the Pleasure Club was playing. This is Smith's old bar. It was the Pleasure Club, not the James Hall with Bruce now, but the Pleasure Club. When they finished a show one night at Smith's, they had loaded some stuff down the front.
Sure.
Speaking of the Smith's war stories of loading in and out. And this was on, I don't know who. It wasn't James because I didn't see James, but they drove the trailer off and the door came flying open and equipment came bailing out on the Piedmont.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh my God, this is this is bad news, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that. But yeah.
I chased a kid down an alley one time that stole Billy Gray's bike.
Oh, Billy Gray, love that. His bike.
He used to take his bike on tour.
Oh yeah, for the Fozzy stuff.
Yeah, and
it
was sitting out back while we were doing a load in, and next thing I know, this kid's grabbing the bike and taking off with it. So I went chasing after him. I caught him.
Okay, you got the bike back, right?
The bike back, and the kid's cussing me out the whole way back, and I'm like, pointing at him like, "You little kid, you better not let me catch you."
Right, it's not yours, dude. This is not your bike. Why are you getting mad?
Flipping me off. I was getting the whole full blown. I hate.
Oh well, because you took what he rightfully stole.
That's right.
I mean, in fairness,
that's right. I mean,
that's funny.
9/10 of the law, right?
Yeah,
that's right. Possession. That's actually pretty. That's funny.
Hey,
it was funny.
So, have you always been an original artist, wanting to create your own songs and that type of thing, or have you done covers, or have you been in one of these tribute bands?
Never a tribute band. I mean, over the years, we always did. The old band. We did a Ramones song, and then Ghost of You. Actually, we are going to do a one cover because just one over the years I've done either acoustically or something that fits into our style. So we're doing The Cult's Little Devil. So we're doing that song. Everything else is original. No, I've never really been, growing up when I was really young, of course, you learn on covers and you learn, of course, all the, whatever you're able to play, because those guys are, you're young and you're like, these guys are seasoned. But I'm not, I've always found it where I enjoy the painful process of writing and recording.
Right.
And I was just in Nashville this week working with our guy Tuck, and we laughed about some, we do lyrics first after melodies are done on the acoustic, then we do lyrics. And I mean, we're not messing around. And this is, I'm with a couple of the big boys, and we're sitting there, and we joked about this is painful.
Yeah.
Some of it is painful, and you guys know.
Yeah.
To get that, you want it to be right. Yeah. I mean, but no, I've always done originals, always been able to be lucky enough to get originals in the studio and on the records. And again, I did do a couple of acoustics. I actually recently got placed. We sold a version of an acoustic version of "Don't You Simple Minds." Don't you forget about me. It's really cool. It's got it's all acoustic. I mean, it's got drums, but it's an acoustic version with acoustic guitar. It's also got a B3 Hammond in it.
Yep.
So it's kind of like a Black Rose version of dude, my man.
I got a C3 sitting right here,
right next to his Leslie.
Yeah, we just did the same thing with Hope Sanker. Corey Lowry is our producer.
I love Corey. Yeah. Again, someone I've known for literally more than half my life, right?
Right.
So he's great, man.
Yeah, and like you said, it's like you're working on, you're hashing out the lyrics, you're hashing out the melodies. Then it comes to actually putting it on tape, or in these days, putting it in the digital realm,
in the Pro Tools.
Yeah. So when you're recording, do you guys tend to do you like recording, semi-live, full live, or stacked piece by piece?
So in the studio, what you just heard, the Ghost of You, the Heartbreak Creepin', for example, that was, live. Like I said, Froze was on drums. We had a bass. Actually, Tuck played bass on the thing, on that version, and then guitars, which Tuck also played some guitars, Danny too. But so we did a whole live thing.
Nice.
I like, and then of course we all know. Then you go back and do all this stuff. Now I didn't sing during the live stuff. They just kind of roll with the music, and then I go back, and then we did some of the vocals of Dan Dixon, some of our Jesse Dupree's, and just kind of mixed it up. And that painful process too. Right. I love that I'm doing a couple different studio things right now, and I love that I get to work with, like you said, you get to work with somebody like Corey. I get to work with Tuck, and he gets to work with this other name drop. And his last record was done by Kabbalah, Green Day's producer. Sure. I'm learning from these guys. Like I've always learned, and I've always I've enjoyed the process after it was done. I don't love the
work.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not afraid to work, and I'm willing to work hard, and I have. But at the end of the day, I think it's in that moment where you're sitting there in that painful process of one line. It's got to be right. Here's a placeholder, but this has got to be right, and we got to go back and do this line. And that's what in Nashville this week. We built the track via the Pro Tools,
Sure.
and then to demo, and then that was just me and him. And then I'll go back and do the demo vocals. Then we'll, as a band, rehearse and learn. Then we'll go back to Nashville and record it.
Yeah. I think that's a good kind of bedrock platform of how most bands do it. I mean, there's a lot of ways to record a record, but it is work.
It's work.
When you're in there and you're for me, in my case, I'm cutting guitars and, we're stacking guitars and you have to play the track and then, exactly play it as close as you possibly can on the next track to stack it. And then, it is work. But the beauty is, like you said, and the end result, when you get to listen to it and you go, all right, we created this from nothing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Out of thin air. And whatever it is, and it's whatever style, whatever genre, whatever the subject matter, whatever it is. And for me, I found such a niche with him, and like I said, I get to work with a guy named Jesse over at Jan Smith Studios some.
Oh yeah, Jan.
And I get to do a couple. Yeah, I see her every couple of weeks. She's great. Her producer Jesse and I do some acoustic stuff and some fun stuff together. We just work together a lot. And then with the band stuff, it's all Tuck, and they're both, learning curves, and it's like a master class,
sure,
no matter what. And I know you get that with Corey, and it's just like I'm in a master class, learning more about myself and watching these guys. Now, I don't have the gift of, the computers and the Pro Tools and the mixing and the mastering and listen, my biggest, and it's never too late. I keep hearing this, and it's true, but I keep, I not regret, my biggest on the road, and you guys know this, I never took the time to, while having the time, to learn an instrument. Yeah. I could have sat around and learned guitar. And I wish, right. And I wish, and now I'm like, man, and it's still not too late, I mean, like anybody, I can throw a chord or two, and the guys used to joke, you're sitting on the drum kit, I could keep a quick 2/4 beat, but then that was enough. They were like, all right, you're done, stop, So the funny thing is in the studio, until you get that vibe, that feeling, that soul behind the words and everything, when you're writing something brand new and you've never played it, you've never rehearsed it, it's really kind of, that's the interesting process. Now I got to take this home or listen to it in the car, listen to it, whatever it is, to find, even though I helped write the lyrics,
right,
I still got to find the feeling behind it.
Yeah. You got to relearn the record that you just recorded.
Yeah, because exactly we've never played some of it.
Yeah.
And you just said you're playing 5 new songs.
Yeah.
That stresses me out hearing you say that, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Wait, why?
We've got a catalog. We've been together for 15 years. I can play those literally in my sleep. And we decide
for sure.
We decide to go into this showcase with playing stuff we've never played before live. So
it keeps it interesting.
But that's also kind of a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta
challenge stuff.
So let's switch directions a little bit and get into your gear. What do you use recording wise or live? And everybody else in the band use electronic drums. I got a feeling you don't, but
no.
Are you into Kempers? Are you into just amps?
Well, actually, Danny does play Kemper. Danny plays Kemper with his guitar. Of course, when he plays bass and Narcissist, he does not. He plays through the the regular stuff. I make fun of his Kemper on a regular basis. He yells at me for it. And granted,
the lunchbox.
I don't think and I don't think the average listener, will notice. That's why a lot of cats tour with Kempers.
Right.
And I get it. It's he's now Mark. Yes, there you go. I make fun of that little thing.
You make fun of it. I got it right here.
Yeah. And in fairness, I hate to. It sounds great.
Yeah, it does.
So, but I mean, I'm but in the studio when we're recording, they don't let him use a Kemper. Right? No, we're not doing this because obviously we want to have a couple different sounds, as you know, layering some of the guitar stuff.
Yeah.
So he'll use, the Marshall head, then he'll use the orange,
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And as far as drums, as you already figured us out, we're straight up 2-4, in the pocket kind of stuff. Where space is always kind of straight through, so now, so is gear, we got the, the half stack and all that stuff. Now this is whatever, I guess, is provided. Of course, I guess they said, bring your heads. And so you're going to see his Kemper and you can both enjoy each other's little,
he's going to see my Kemper.
You can be Kemper buddies.
Well,
and then I can make fun of both of you.
Well,
like,
my Kemper
buddies.
I'll stand back there and make fun of you.
Thank you, boss. Thank you.
My Kemper's a male. I'm hoping his Kemper's a female. Maybe they'll make another Kemper for
man.
Little Kemplets.
That would be amazing. Little Kemplets. I love it.
Danny, love you, man. I haven't seen you in years. We played in a band together back in the day, and
what band was that?
Was
that pre-Transis Arc? Or?
What a talented dude.
Okay.
I was in Heavy Mojo with him.
Oh yeah,
and we did a lot of really cool shows. Did a showcase in New York. Played our tails off, gave it everything we had. And I was always a fan of Danny Silvestri and Marlon Patton, and Damian Goodpaster. Those guys were brilliant musicians. They
were top notch, man. That band should have done more than they did. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Like a lot of bands, it's like you hit a ceiling or you get a deal.
Right.
Like, a lot of us might have had, but it was a crappy deal, or you're a write off, which is always fun.
Yeah.
But those guys were, I remember Heavy Mojo would play Smith sometimes.
Yeah.
And I saw it. Now, I don't know if you remember that. So I balanced and I worked, of course, being in the clubs forever, trying to be in the scene, the Rec Room days and all that. Later, I was a bouncer at Smith's and Nine Lives before that, but then Smith's. And, I was working at Smith's right when Butch was leaving, but JJ from Butch's band, well, he was the Marvelous Fourth. JJ and me worked, and it was funny sometimes because JJ would work the door and Butch would have the bus parked out front and they would go get in the bus and go to the show. They would do all these big shows and poor JJ, because Butch was the majority of the publishing, of course, and talks about that in his book. But he comes back and he's like, "Well, I'm working the door. I was just on David Letterman." He did David Letterman. Came back a week later. He's checking IDs like all of us. It was so funny, man. What a business, what a world. But at the same time,
it is. It's a humbling experience.
I know the big rock stars that are the same way. It's like they're not who you think they are.
No, and people used to. Do you ever get this? So those moments where the band is doing pretty good, okay, considering, right? Indie world good, whatever it was.
Sure.
And we were in a magazine or the song was on the radio. And then you have people who maybe you grew up with, and you're like, "Oh man, what's it like to be, and you're opening up for all these names, right? You're doing, hey, listen, my whole thing is I'm lucky and blessed to be doing what I'm doing. Now, do I wish I made different decisions? Did we have a better lawyer? All this stuff. Did we mess up in decision making? Sure.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's an illusion. No, obviously not to the big wigs and to the big cats, the older school bands who there's the Guns N' Roses that are still selling out. Right. It was done differently. And you got bands like Aerosmith and Guns N' Roses. Look at them. Yeah. I still love those guys. They're timeless to me.
Sure.
In a different way than the Tom Petty, of course, but the timeless, and look at the stadiums they're still doing all these years later, which is clearly the test of, well, they're doing something right and they're still making this much money.
Right.
And selling out. And it's just like, wow. Clearly those guys, you got a whole different 10 levels ahead of money making versus the bands that do have the deals, like you said, and they have some notoriety, but they're not making the money that you think they would. Or like you say, old cats that had a lot of success, but kind of
it was set up completely
living
it's a
tall.
Whole different model these days. It doesn't work the same.
It doesn't. I will say I'm incredibly excited. Me and Tucker, one of the songs we wrote, we sold.
Nice.
So, and we got some money, and then it's going to get done by this person or that person, Netflix, whatever, and then we'll make more money later.
Good.
But we gave up a little bit more than we really wanted to. But
Yeah.
Is it sitting here?
Yeah.
Or is it going to make money? And then we can then present another song.
Right.
So it's kind of it's like, and I'm super stoked about it. It was a little song that was different for me, had a real piano in the recording. And I know you can appreciate that. And it was like, dare I say, a sort of and I certainly none of this talent, but a Beatles-esque kind of vibe to it, and it was just, I didn't even, opposite of my old me where I'm like, hey man, check out my song. Yeah. I was so proud of the song. I literally didn't let anybody hear it for 6 months. Right. I'm like, nope, this is my baby. You're not hearing it. And then I let people hear it. And then he ended up putting it in his publishing stuff, and it luckily got sold.
That's awesome. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Well, that was going to be one of my next kind of questions about how to go about as an artist. We just talked about the songwriting process, bit painful. We talked about the recording process, bit painful. Right. Now it gets even more painful because the only real distribution that, heck, even the majors have is your Pandoras, your Spotify's, your Amazon Music, Apple, iTunes, et cetera, et cetera. And we've talked this week on the podcast quite a bit about how much each of those services pay per stream of one of your songs. And it's essentially nothing. So what is your plan?
It's literally nothing.
Yeah, we're going to play Heartbreak Creepin' here after we talk about this. But what is your plan for, selling the publishing? How do you shop? How do you shop your tunes to artists?
I think one thing about this band what was so great about this is because, and Danny and his history with Heavy Mojo and then later Transys Arc, and he was lucky at Transys Arc. He got a good publishing deal. Right. They got a really good one. And then that ended, and then he got lucky with a couple other bands. He got to play bass on some, Kelly Clarkson record, and he just recently did a couple songs with the Bacon Brothers record, which, I mean, first of all, Kevin Bacon, come on. Right. That rules. Yeah. Right. And I think I don't know what he worked out financially for all that, but that's all great. And that to say that with this project, we decided, look, this is for fun. Let's just see what happens. And as I said, it kind of started getting a little bit more, well, let's rehearse. Let's do a show. Well, let's record some videos, because in the acting world and whatever, I've got video filmographer friends and directors, and that Video Southbound, which is another song, I've got 3 professional actors in it, and it's insane. I would never do that again. It was during COVID. There was time, and it was turning in some friend favors and whatever, and still cost us some money. But I feel like you guys maybe, putting a little bit of money into something for food, tattoos, maybe the right studio producer, writer, whatever to help, and I just put new tires on the motorcycle. The right stuff. I'm willing to pay a few bucks more, right? So I feel like, okay, well, I'm willing to put pay the director and the editor this, and obviously the studio producer and the mixing this and the mastering, and I'm willing to put a little bit of money into. Okay, well, let's get this out there the best we can in the way that we know how. Right. I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but yes, once we put it up, like all of us, on the only avenue there is, unless you do vinyl, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. When you do vinyl, who's the manufacturer you kind of go through with that?
So we haven't done that yet, but I know that there's CD Baby does it. DistroKid might. I'm not sure.
A lot of bands are doing that though. What's the draw? It's like for the younger crowd.
Well, it's like this, and I think that I think if you know some younger generations, right? Yeah. I think what they found now, like, they're into cassettes, right? And they're into vinyl. I mean, of course, we're all into vinyl. It's just a retro thing.
Yeah, it's retro.
I think it's a retro thing, and I think vinyl for a lot of bands, whether it's a new version of a huge band or an indie band putting out vinyl, like Jet, or when Tender Idols did it, or whatever, or Butch might do it. I think it's nostalgic, and I think you have a limited access to them, and I think they all do that. There's only 500 copies, or 10 copies, go get it. And for me, it's just kind of a collectible thing. And I think a lot of people
that's
think
kind of
that.
what I think it is too.
Well, it's
I
interesting.
think there's a handful of people that really, I mean, Bruce, you guys know Bruce Bukovich from the James Hall Band, the bass player. Bruce, he produces a lot.
I don't know.
You don't know Bruce?
I don't know Bruce. No.
I
wish I did. It sounds like,
dude, he used to work with Mike Froese. They owned a studio together.
Yeah. Okay. So I know Mike. I've known Mike for a while.
Everybody knows Mike, the Double Drive days, right?
Yeah.
And before that, some other stuff too. But Bruce was talking. We were having this conversation about vinyl. But there are some cats, man, who have a whole, and you know this, I'm sure. Maybe even have a couple of friends, and I'm not one of them. I have my collectible albums. I have a little record player. Do I ever listen to it? Every now and then for funsies, right? 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, But there are guys who take this so it's their passion, and you got to love it. They have these rooms set just for their vinyl, and these record players that are probably 10K, you know what I mean? And they're dead serious. I mean, it's no joke. It's like a listening room in a studio.
Panasonic thrusters that I play them through.
yeah, dude, and it's no joke. You can hear panning in it and stuff. I was just anyway.
Well, the reason I kind of was asking about the vinyl thing is we were just on a phone call with the guy that's mastering our record, Maurer Applebaum. He's a mastering engineer in LA.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah.
I was on a softball team with him.
Okay. So
when I lived in Los Angeles.
Okay. So he is mastering.
Little guy.
Yeah.
Listen, I keep in touch with him. He and I communicate once every couple months.
Yeah.
So please tell him I said hello.
All right.
He knows me very well.
All right.
We played every week together.
Yeah. So we were talking to him last night, and he was asking, I was asking him which format files, final files will he be sending us, and he started going into talking about files for vinyl were different. They were going to be different than files for basically everything else. He says, so I kind of was wondering about that, and then my band quickly shut me down saying we are not doing vinyl. And I'm like, come on, limited edition.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. It's interesting that you said that because I didn't know that. So I'll ask a couple of cats I know who are doing vinyl now, because I thought about that.
Yeah.
With the Ghost of You and just the guitar, I thought that would be like a cool little, in the center of the vinyl is the picture, right? And I thought that would be a cool little thing. And, is it worth it? I don't know. I mean, not where we're at right now, probably, but it would be fun for my own self.
The road, and you've got a nice big setup of merch.
Oh man,
definitely.
And people would buy, people would buy it, man.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We've already discussed that, you're not going to make your money streaming. So the only way to make money is to do shows, sell merch.
Yeah.
Ghost of You.
Placements.
Yeah. Right. Placements. That's a big one. I've yet to figure that one out.
I've had a couple. So I think placements are, I'm in a couple of placement companies, and that's great. I'm lucky to be in the placement companies, but like anything, here's the deal. It's kind of random.
Right.
I mean, okay. I had to go through in this one placement company. I had to get all this, and this, you got to get all the stems, the waves, the instrumentals, and all of it has to be stems so they can break down and just use your keyboard.
Yeah.
And nothing else if they want.
And hey, so let me stop you there real quick. And for listeners that may or may not, they likely would not be a musician. What he's talking about on a stem is, say you have a recording and you've got 6 tracks of drums, your kick, your snare, your tom, your overhead, that type of thing. And then you have a bass track, then you have 2 guitar tracks, and then you have 4 vocal tracks. If you individualize each one of those into a file, that's what he's talking about when he says stems. Each individual consolidated from start to finish track of that instrument. So it's
because movies, if you pay attention to like movies and that moment where you recognize the song, you're like, wait a minute, where's the rest of the song? Right. So it's just that one thing. Maybe it's just an acoustic track. Maybe it's a vocal only a cappella.
Right.
It could be anything. Yeah. Just a kick drum. Who knows? Yeah. So,
yeah. Well, let's give a listen to Heartbreak Creeping.
That was a good way to explain that.
Yeah.
That was good.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. We're gonna go into heartbreak.
I was talking to him.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
I figured it was me.
well then thank you.
No, thank you. Heartbreak Creeping from Ghost of You. This is Cleve Willis and the boys. Here we go.
Tell the truth and take you back to a memory. Heartbreak's creeping over me. Sometimes the mask you wear will pull you down and keep you there inside of all your lies. I need a life with a soul to keep.
Sounds like it could possibly be a track, but it's right. I know it's not.
Hey,
thank you.
Hey, I'll tell you, everybody, that's again, this past 2 weeks of doing podcasts with all the bands coming up at the Atlanta Music Scene Festival coming up on the 12th of March. That's a Sunday night at 8:10. Ghost of You. If you want to come out and check out that song, check out the guys, meet us, meet them. Hey, everybody is very approachable. They've been so nice.
Yeah, every band we've met this week's been awesome.
Really cool.
And
guys.
the music, every time it's like, man, these guys are killer. I had no idea these bands were even like, where do you go see them? That's the thing. That's what we're trying to get to have happen is
right.
Have more venues where we can come hear bands like yours that just kick ass, you know? People are missing out.
Man.
Yeah.
I think it's part of like, I've talked to Scully a lot about this and,
yeah,
and all Scully's awesome, man. I really like, he's such a good, here's a funny story. I met Scully when he was in, I was one of the first people Scully met. Scully played with that band I mentioned earlier when I was young in a band called Dakota. He was in that band Mother Nature. And if you see some old pictures of him, he's got that Ian Asbury long black
beautiful hair.
He looked like the guy from the Cult.
It's stunning. Yeah. He's like Elvis meets Ian Asbury.
Exactly what he is. Exactly right.
we hung out with him recently. And me and my buddy Rob and a few others were like, dude. And I wear readers too, so make no mistake. But his Scully, if you ever see his phone, his print, his texts are like as big as my phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, can you see that? He's like, shut up. I'm like, are you sure? I'll even text him sometimes being, hey, can you see this? Are you sure you got this? I was talking to, living in town near Decatur myself, but I love the 37 Main Avondale location personally.
Yeah, sure.
And also, I love the historical outside. I played that theater when it was the old Avondale Theater. I did an acoustic show there. That was totally interesting. And then to see it when they redid it was definitely like, wow.
Yeah.
But they did a great job and it looks great. And,
super cool.
Yeah.
Just opened for autographs there right before Randy Rand passed away.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I told Scully, I said, look, and I've talked to Brandon over at Center Stage. And I said, look, here's the deal. We're at a certain age. We're not out there. We're not going to, I'm not going to, none of my guys, Danny Silvestri's not, he's got a daughter now, 3.
Yeah.
Just so you know. And he, we all laughed about it. We're like, dude, we're not 20. Right. We're not getting in a van. And first of all, like you said earlier, the business is totally a different model now anyway.
Right.
But back in the day, you could go from club to club, get in a van and go tour. And you had maybe somebody helping with booking and you built that foundation. And, we all did that. You know what? It goes back to literally the flyering, right? On the poles and the rec room and at the end, and be pre-internet and all this stuff, which is great because I'm glad I experienced that world of having to, do the work. Yeah. Right. And I think the new generation that we may not even know. I mean, I think they're doing the work, but it's totally different work that I just I can't relate to.
We don't get it. We don't understand.
I don't get it. No. I think it's different now. I think, but yeah. So I think as far as shows, we're just trying to, get on a couple of nationals, even smaller nationals. That makes sense.
What are you doing to get on those? Like, are you buying on, or are you?
No, we're not doing that. Good. I'm just no, we don't. Yeah, I'm proud to say I'm some bigger names I've toured with. We've never had to do that. Now, I did joke with Danny. I said, man, you know what? The Colt's one of my all-time favorites. I was like, dude, because I found out it's actually cheaper than I thought. Maybe it's the time. Yeah. But I'm like, man, it'd be cool to go do like 3 weeks with the Colt, and it'd be perfect for our style too, but yeah, I'm not going to do that. I mean, it's just, you know what? No, I just call the promoters that I already have relationships with from the past and the past bands and music that I have. And now I've had relationships with them, whether it was in a band or not, for a lot of promoters, even in a couple of different cities, but especially here, growing up here, like you guys who've been here forever. Dan Nolan over at Smithsville Bar and the girl booking over there now for Dan right now. I've always had a great relationship with them. And I asked him, I said, look, here's the deal. I'm not trying to play on a Wednesday night at 9 o'clock because I don't have, besides my girlfriend, I don't think,
Right.
No,
I laugh because
it'll be like I was 15, right?
He laughs because it's not funny, right?
It's not funny, right? It's like I'm not trying to do. I want to do things. And of course, we've all made those mistakes in the past. Like we said earlier, with some of the times that we were doing maybe some bigger stuff. We still made mistakes in the decision making of the business part of it. So now I just try to be conscious of, okay, I want to do things that simply make sense. If it doesn't make sense, I don't want to do it. And that means any show. I don't care who's on it. If that doesn't make sense for me to do it, I'm not going to do it. Right. Mostly. I mean, in order for us to go open up for go ahead.
I'm sorry. It just sounds like you have a good foundation already kind of set up.
Network. It's called networking.
Yeah.
It's a 30-year network.
And you have a great product.
It's exactly right. Well, thank you.
So those two together.
That means a lot.
Yeah. So having those two together is going to get you.
I surround myself with tons of talent, and that particularly means with musicians. And this has always been true. I've never, when the old band was doing whatever, it was, I was a front man. Okay singer, I think, a lot of people liked what I did, and you just heard what I did, so people can judge for themselves. The front man quality was my thing, and which is why we got attention, and including I've always surrounded myself with guys, drummers and guitar players and bass players that I always looked up to and were like, oh my God, these guys, I want to play with these guys. And somehow I managed to make some of that happen and got to play with guys that are just so talented, my old band was Rob Hammersmith on drums all those years. And I mean, I was spoiled. I mean, it's hard to, I'm like, well, and then Mike Froge, I got to play with Mike Froge. Are you kidding me?
Right.
I mean, so you go listen to some of that double drive stuff. You're like, all right, well, I'm kind of spoiled. I don't know. You better be good back there. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. So after listening, like I said, for the past 2 weeks of these records and recordings from the local original music scene that Scully put together for this showcase. I listened to it, and everything has been recorded in a quality that is a national level quality. Like, you know, you were talking about the tier system. You got your garage band, then you got your, you know, just getting out of the garage band and playing somber reptile type venues. And then you have boom. And then, you work your way up. Everybody that we've listened to over the past 2 weeks so far has had national quality production of their recordings and
Pretty
songwriting.
much. Yeah.
That we just need a place to play. So let's talk to your guy at Center Stage. Have him give us a Saturday.
Yeah.
We'll do another festival once a month at Center Stage. I actually reached out to them, and they haven't gotten back to me because I want pricing. I'll rent.
It would be a great idea, actually. Yeah.
Wow, you're willing to rent the place?
Yeah, I'm willing to rent the place out, put a proper show together, and give it a go.
We could put 5 or 6 bands together, all jump in.
Yeah.
I would actually suggest. Okay, so if you actually came with me with that, I would say, you know what? Let's talk to Scully and do 37 Main Amadale.
Sure.
And here's why.
Yeah.
Because number one, I don't want to. Number one, it'd probably be more affordable for you. But moreover, I think because look, reality is this. I don't think unless you're, and I don't, this is different, maybe opinions, but I don't think I've been to a handful of shows lately, mainly the Earl. I've watched a couple. I've watched some big bands come through the Earl. Mastodon used to play there all the time. They'll still do some of their side bands. Those guys will still play there. It's great because it's such a staple, which I love the Earl for that reason. It's a star bar. And, Tuck, for example, here's a guy with a deal producing big bands, and he's got a name, and he's on the radio, he's got spins and all this, and he's, he's signed. He's playing a star bar on New Year's Eve. It's sold out and everything, but it was, it's his hometown. But so the reason I say that is because I would rather, or Smith's Old Bar, another good example.
Yeah.
And now with the elevator, hey. So, so my suggestion, personal thoughts would be this. I would go for a smaller venue.
Sure.
Because I think reality is something like Center Stage, some of the bigger names we know don't even fill that up.
Sure.
And I think a lot of that has to do with maybe generation, maybe it's age, depends on the night, depends on what else is going on, like always around the city, that.
Right.
When we were playing at the Edge on a Saturday night, but Aerosmith was playing at the stadium who wins? Right. Those are the type of things I always try to look at as well. And in fact, that's why this got changed. Scully was talking to me about this, and I'm like, well, it was supposed to be a different date. And I said, well, I can't do it. He said, why? I said, well, my friends are playing that same night. It was the next week, Skid Row's playing. Right. Rachel Bowen used to manage my old band. Rob is in that band. He used to play with me. And I'm like, dude, no offense. I'm going to go hang out with my friends before the show and hang out. I was actually just in Nashville hanging out with Rachel this week. And I'm like, and then he was like, actually, oh yeah, a lot of our friends are the same friends. He's friends with those guys too. And he's like, well, I'm like, I'd love to do this, but all the people that I know that would even come to 10 High are going to be at the Buckhead Theater. Yeah. So I was like, and of course, immediately he was like, oh yeah, good point. And so they changed it, which I was so glad about. And then he asked me, what would you do? I'm like, yeah, man, this would be fun. And for us, man, honestly, I'm a little nervous because the thing about festivals with this many many bands, which is great. And Scully's always done this. And we got a girl named Ashley T that's playing Teresi upstairs acoustic. She's one of my favorite female vocalists.
Yeah.
And she has...
Yeah.
Tatarsky.
Yeah.
She sang on, She sang, her and I, we did a video for a movie, and we did a song. We got financed to do a movie song and a video to go with it. Indie thing, but it was pretty good production. And she and I got to collaborate. And then her and I ended up doing with another friend of mine some acoustic shows together. Dude, she is one of my all-time favorite female vocalists. It is mind-blowing that she's not doing more and all this stuff. And she's, anyway, I give her a plug for sure because she's incredible. But all that to say that, man, I feel like personally, if we're going to do stuff like I saw Narcissist the other week, like I said, play at the Earl. Yeah. and Dan Dixon and Danny Silvestri, and they're doing, and you got the girl from Stephanie from the Coat Hangers, and the Coat Hangers were a national band.
Yeah.
And she's singing in this band, and man, you're playing the Earl, they're showcasing, they've even got an indie deal, small label, but doesn't hurt. They got a little bit of something behind them, not a lot, but it doesn't hurt. And they're still trying to open up for bigger bands themselves, which this week I think they're doing Royal Thunder next week at the Masquerade, which is already sold out.
Wow.
So they're doing the same thing we're trying to do, which is to open up for cats just to get us out there a little bit and not have the pressure of, I'm not 25 to 37 anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not hustling like a lot of people, we got a family, and I'm willing to work. That's not it. But with work today is different. Like you said, it's the internet, it's distribution, it's getting the song out there locally. But now look, good news, 99X is back.
We talked about that with Curtis Clark.
And it's the original. Even Leslie Friend's coming back. If you hadn't noticed, but they're bringing back a local show. And English Nick has always been supportive of everything I've done since the '90s.
Yeah.
And so he's, of course, he's involved with
he's a great dude too.
The 10 Highs. Oh my God, he's all, and he's got a Triumph. So we're gonna go riding.
Oh, you brought the motorcycle up. We both eyeball each other. We both ride. What are you riding around?
Triumph.
I ride a 750 Shadow Phantom.
Oh, Phantom.
So it's got the Harley front, and I went with this one. This is my first bike in years.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I want to get a reliable Honda, and I just got out of the shop yesterday. I had to get new grips on it, new tires.
Yeah.
And
what did you end up paying for tires? Because I've been pricing them out.
That is a good question.
Well, my total bill was around $5 today, but that included having these pain in the butt grips put on and a couple little things. So probably around total $4.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
I was quoted $700, $750 for
MSP Lawrenceville Highway.
Say that again.
MSP Motorcycles Lawrenceville Highway. Now I ride with Rob a lot, and now he's a Harley guy. He's got a Harley, so he goes to Harley. But there's a place called G&G Cycles on Roswell Road, near that Pop's Coffee Shop.
Oh, that's right by my house. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
So G&G. Actually, he and I went there because I went to ask them a couple questions.
Yeah, I'll have to check them out.
Yeah.
I'm a Harley guy too, because I called yesterday to have them come pick up my Sporty.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have an XL 1200.
Oh,
I had
man.
I had that and a Fat Boy, and I just sold the Fat Boy, but they worked on my Fat Boy. They come to your house, they pick it up, they take it, they fix it, they bring it back. So I called to have them come get my Sporty, and they say, well, what year is it? And I said, it's a 2001.
Oh, yeah.
We can't work on your bike anymore.
Yeah.
What?
I've noticed that a lot of cats are like, we're not going to, Triumph is the same way. They're not going to work on bikes that are X amount old. And it's interesting.
It's a parts.
But yeah, that place, when I went by there to talk to him, I was going to take my bike up there, and this place up the street for me, kind of like that is for you, is, it's a mile away. So I just Ubered up to grab it this morning. I'm going to ride a little bit tonight, actually. But, they got, reputable. They've been there a long time. And I like the guys at G&G when I went by there. And I may graduate to a Harley possibly in a couple years, but I just want to get my feet wet. Kind of like, and that's where I was going with the band, man. This and Scully's given us an opportunity in this lineup with this drummer to just get our feet wet.
Yeah.
And let's see how this goes. And so I'm pretty excited about that. And honestly, it's been a while since I've been on stage electric. Like I said, I did some acoustic stuff, and Ashley sang some backup stuff with us. And that's always just been such a treat. And I love doing acoustic shows, bluesy. Our stuff is all blues based anyway, but man, you talk about raw, intimate, sitting in chairs. As I've gotten older, not only do I appreciate that, but I actually love doing it.
Right.
And it's definitely a test to the voice and getting your stuff out there. But so I love your idea. I would say, hey man, let's talk to Dan Nolan. Let's talk to Scully over 37 Main in Avondale. And since you're in Roswell, I think more people would be. See, the once a month thing, I'm going to stop you.
Yeah.
What do you think, my man? I think that's
Well,
I don't want to go see my favorite band once a month.
no. When I say once a month,
Oh, you mean local people
yeah.
playing that venue once a month,
It's
not you and me.
yeah, no. It's a 3-band.
Okay.
A 3 or 4
But
band.
you see where I was going there? I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
dude,
yeah,
really?
Well, if you can see the studio here, for one of my projects, I have to haul all these TVs and screens out for the show, and I have no interest in doing
Once a month.
once a month. Once a quarter is
Right.
pushing it. You know,
It takes them 3
Oh,
weeks
yeah.
to recover from moving the TV to
No,
flat screen.
like-
This seems huge.
Yeah,
I see it. It's awesome though.
Yeah.
if a venue,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
If a venue would give like a once a month spot as a showcase type thing, and you get this level of talent, 3 of these bands, you know,
Yeah.
you could with this group of bands that Scully Cooley has put together for this.
He is Cooley.
It's
Scully
Cooley, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He should add an O to the Cooley.
Should be another
Hold
O
on.
and be Scully
Let me
Cooley.
set this straight. So it's Cooley?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's
Scully
yes.
Cooley.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's right. It's Cooley.
Yeah.
Scully.
Okay.
Well, I asked him.
So I've known him for I
Did
don't
you
know,
did you
5 or
think it was
6 years.
Cooley?
I thought it was Coley.
Scully Cooley.
It is Coley.
Okay,
I
so
think
I'm
it's
right.
Coley.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I
hey,
think so.
So
Scully.
Ray's the one that's saying Cooley.
Scully.
Right, correct.
Scully.
He's cool for
It's
sure.
Scully.
It's just Scully. He's got
Yeah,
just needs
and
one
everybody
name.
knows who you're talking
Yeah.
about.
He's like Madonna
But
Exactly.
Scully. Listen, guys.
or Elvis.
I've given I think 3 text messages and 2 phone calls, and I know he's traveling right now, so he's not going to hear this or anything. But trying to
wait
get
till
him to
he
come on.
does.
Yeah, trying to get him to come on so I could learn how to pronounce his name.
Nice.
And what you know.
I was going to ask you a few nights ago. Are
Got it.
you? Is it? I thought you just had a tick or something.
I have a tick. Oh, which also reminds me, I do have ADD and I'll bounce around, but
That's for sure.
you and I were talking, I think by a text message, and we started talking about in-ears versus you know, playing without in-ears. I mean, you have cans on right now to do the interview, and that seems to be fine. But like for performing, you hate in-ears.
I'm not a fan. I mean, I tried them a few times over the years, and I'm not a fan. Now I do plugs. Don't get me wrong. I'll do if it's I'll always do 1 plug, and sometimes I'll throw in 2, which I should always have done.
But that's for protection.
Yeah, well, and to hear.
Yeah.
I can obviously with plugs. You're still hearing your inside vocal head,
Oh,
right?
okay. I never thought
So,
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the main reason I do it.
Right.
Well, as I got older and a little more under the belt, you're like, oh, well, number 1, let's save the hearing. But number 2, I need to hear the inside voice, so I'm not pushing so hard. Because as we all know, as vocalists, you can, you can make it loud. And Mama Jan, listen, this is, you can make it loud and all that stuff just from the core.
Right.
You don't need to shout. You don't need to. You just project it, and you listen to the inner voice, and it gets out there. And that, doing all those acoustic shows really was a big advocate and helping me realize a lot of that stuff. But yeah, man, I don't want to blow anything out. And I spent a long time, before Mama Jan, as we know, singing, as she jokes, oh, sing rock and roll? Great. You're screwing your voice up.
Yeah,
But here's what we do.
Right.
And here's how to make it better. And here's what to do to work it. Here's what to do to make it not wear out in 30 years or whatever. The guys who are performing 5 nights a week, the old school cast.
Those who may or may not know, tell us who Mama Jan is.
Jan Smith Studios. I mean, there's not even enough words. Mama Jan, number 1, as a human being, is one of the most amazing, beautiful human beings I've ever met. Sweet, big-hearted, and anybody that she has taught. I joke about this, but not really, because she's the vocal coach for Rob Thomas, Matchbox 20, Usher, Bieber, on and on, name drop.
Right,
And then,
right.
of course, they're working with somebody now. They're bringing up a young guy they're working with. All that to say that here's this woman who can talent circles vocally around anybody I just said. And the thing about her is she's, and the people who work for her at Mama Jan Studios, they're all just the talent is just undescribable, and as far as what you're able to learn from these cats.
Right.
She makes it so, and she works with you. She works you. That painful work we're talking about.
It is
she'll work you. But I take what I learned from her, and when we were able to be on the road and playing a lot at the time. We were playing a lot, the old band. I took, the guys used to make fun of me because they'd hear me do my vocal exercises. And I found a way to do a quick exercise that from her book, not the whole, but a shorter, quicker version of it backstage before we went on. And, it was a lifesaver.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God.
Yeah.
And now I find myself, I'm doing, we're rehearsing Thursday night for this. I'm like, so the last few days in the car, I'm doing these exercises. I'm like, God, I gotta mess around with my voice here and get it to where I can sing 5-6.
Well, it's amazing. You said something earlier in the show about never being too old to learn. And that is
teachable.
Yeah. If you're teachable, a lot of times you have to throw the ego away to become teachable. And sometimes you have to be older to throw the ego away. But we had a rehearsal last night with Hope's Anchor, and Swift was singing like I hadn't heard him sing. And I've been with him for 25 years. And he was doing some things that he's been working with Mama Jan recently over the past few months. And he's like, Mama Jan, because he was just killing these parts. I'm like, dude, looking over and like, who's this guy? And again,
that guy. Well, first of all, he's an incredible singer.
Yeah, right off the bat.
Guy. He could be probably 17 years old. He was probably just immediately just gifted, like some people we know. It's just like, oh my God. I definitely had to work more than I think he did, because I look at guys like him and back in the day, other cats, and I'm like, the Chris Cornells of the world. You're like, okay, hold on. Yeah. The Steven Tylers. I mean, I think there's certain people that have this kind of gift that I think we're all born with some of this for sure. I mean, I think I had a singing voice, but I didn't know how to work it properly.
Right.
I think some guys like Swift probably got up when they were 16 and just kind of it worked. You're like, oh wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Now what are you going to do? It's going to be even better over time. So that's great to hear too, because I mean, teachable, man. I can't, my ego and the band I was in, we I think that a part of our ego and distraction and other things we were all doing during the time of our going out there in the touring world, got in the way of our more success. Right. For sure. And ego is a big part of that. And not, we had this thing going and we didn't get along, and the whole story, but I mean, it's just, so now, and we're all friends now and in different places, and you look and, one guy's in an indie label touring in his band, and, Rob's doing this and I'm doing this, and hey, sold a song. I'm in this fun project. I mean, so we're all still being creative and even on a professional level, but how often and whatever. All that to say is, I mean, that got us, we did this and that was awesome. We're all proud of what this got us, those relationships. And then now we get to do X, Y, and Z. And I think everything takes us somewhere else to get us where we're going. And I think it's a process. And I think that I'm a late bloomer with, dude, let me tell you, I'm a late bloomer with most things in my life. I really am. Yeah. And that's okay, because I end up finding it. Right. But again, even when you're there, it's still a process. It's still, I always try to remain teachable in everything that I do. And because no one is going to do anything perfect. So right. Even the guys that we hear, Swift. Yeah. I mean, his voice to me is like, when I heard you guys at Star, I was like, oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I was just like, I was leaning against that bad bar, just doing this, like, wait a minute, I know these guys. Oh, Jeff's playing. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, and then I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, he had my tunnel vision. Like I watch a guitar player sometimes, or like I watch a drummer that I love so much, or another singer or a bass player. It's just like,
he doesn't only have the voice; he's got the full package. He's got the
listen.
I mean,
he's got it all.
He demands the crowd,
Right, and he's great at it, and it's conviction.
Yes,
and I think that if you have conviction in whatever you do, and as long as it's like acting, if you have the conviction in that moment in that scene, in that character, then you're going to believe it. And the whole thing is just for you to believe it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I got to have a little bit of that belief in order for you to believe it. Right.
Right.
So,
well, you're the one selling it. You're the front man.
Yeah.
hey, I do my best.
That's the part.
There is a video for that song we just finished and we just put out the other day. So if you look up Ghost of You, Heartbreak Creep, and also not to be confused with a band called Ghost of You in some other country.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sometimes I'm like, that band hadn't even, their kids, they haven't even done anything in a while. So I might get an attorney to send them something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not because I don't want them to have because there's obviously two names of most every band in the world, right?
I'm in another band. It's the same situation.
Yeah.
The distro kid to the I can't be here at our old age. The Instagram feed to the distro kid. It's like that one piece isn't matching up properly, but everything else is cool.
Yeah. And
they don't come up, but then they come up, and I'm like, I've tried to reach out to him. I don't even think they check their page anymore.
Right.
And I'm not a techie suave guy with that kind of stuff. So it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. And that's why we're just Ghost of You official. They're Ghost of You band. So
exactly.
Hey,
and
it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cleve,
put band behind it and you're good to go.
We appreciate you coming on, man. Look forward to seeing your set 8-10 at the 10 High. This coming Sunday, the 12th of March. And hey, stick around. Love for you to hang out with us for the Homesaker show at 10:40. You know, I love that. The other thing that I've noticed with a lot of artists that we've had on this week is you're into acting, you're into music, and you're into yoga. Talk to me about the yoga. I need some of that. I need some of that back.
Some of that past. Well, listen, I've got everybody. I own a Bikram yoga studio.
Right.
In fact,
I need it.
The great Nicole Jarovics, who is married to Greg Lee from the Yacht Rock and Butch before that. Nicole, who is just a terrific, wonderful woman who was in the music business forever. In fact, she managed Hopkins from Zach Brown up until recently. She is a teacher. Her and Greg and Butch got me into yoga originally. So I attribute that to them. And to this day, had I known where this was going to lead in my life when they started taking me. So it's a long story how I got there, and that's another day. But yoga really, I'm open about. I'm in recovery. I'm a drug addict. I'm a junkie. Yeah. So
I've been alcoholic. Don't feel bad.
Yeah. No, listen, man, I'm all about my friends doing whatever. I don't care. I'm the one with the issue. And I know that, it doesn't bother me to be around anything. And honestly, we were on the road. I was always clean, but man, let me tell you something. I was around it. You know how to, and it was fine. At the end of the day, that to say that yoga really, the hot, sweaty yoga is what we do. The hot Bikram yoga, which is the roughly 105 degrees, 40% humidity for 90 minutes of what we call the torture chamber, man. Wow. And I own with my partner, Ahu, who lives in Roswell and owns a studio in Roswell called Corsi.
Sure.
It's right on Roswell Mill. So it's probably closer to you, but we do some of the same stuff there. She owns 100% of that one and 50% of mine. And it's called Still Hot Yoga in Decatur near the Emory University. And we've been there 20 years.
Wow.
Good Lord. Wow. Yeah. We bought into it from the former owner, thankfully. Yeah. And it's a community that's just wonderful. And I'm very lucky. And I always say this about the yoga studio. Mama Jan and I talk about this a lot, the yoga. And it's like, I get to own the studio. I get to be a part of this community. And I get to, yoga studios are not get rich things by any means, but put a roof over my head. So it's a gift that I'm lucky to be a part of and have. And so, but in the studio, man, it's definitely, it's the same class every single time, this particular traditional yoga. So after one or two times, you kind of know what's coming.
Right.
Then your brain shuts up.
Right. And
then you just got to get through the class, the postures and all that stuff. And I started doing it even before the Rockets to Ruin band. I started doing it. And like I said, back in the day, Nicole and Greg but there was an incident and with one of our friends in my life that was going to take me back out to use again. And they were like, dude, let's go do this. And I hated it. I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Todd, it's sweaty. This is miserable.
Yeah.
And then I noticed one day after about 2 weeks how I felt.
Right.
My brain shut up.
Yeah.
I felt amazing after class. And the joke, and so in my studio, I'm lucky I got everybody from NBA players to, you know, some of our community that goes there,
Right.
to 80-year-olds in the same class. And I tell you what, one of my NBA guys, he laughs. He's no joke. I mean, these guys are, you know, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. These guys are built like a brick house, and they work out literally 8 hours a day for a living, right?
Super.
He comes out, and it's on the website and everything, but he comes out sometimes, and there'll be some more mature older people there, and they'll be like, "What's the matter? That was easy." He's like, "Oh God," you know. It's just funny to see the guy who does this for a living, you know, come out struggling, and But anyway, I think I challenged Rich Ward to come actually not so long ago. Mark Willis told me Rich was interested. He hadn't come out yet, but
he's into a different yoga.
He is. I think he's going to do this documentary we're doing. Me and Harold Sellers are doing this Atlanta documentary. So we'll reach out to you guys about some of that too.
Yeah, I'd love to.
So the yoga is that I got signed with an agent for acting a few years ago, and I just got lucky. She happened to like, you know, you look like me. Well, you look like a thug, a killer, a drug dealer. I get to play a lot of dark stuff.
You got experience in that world.
I got experience in some of the world. Yeah. Same thing with acting, man. I kind of fell into it a little bit, and then once like with music, you know, it's like then you see, oh my God, this is great. And I think this is really cool. What do I need to do? So then you got to do the work.
Right.
After wanting to actually do it and take it seriously. So then, like going to Mama Jam for the vocals, you go to, I went to an acting coach and all this stuff. And, you know, I've been able to do a couple of things that were on, some streaming TV shows and movies or whatnot, tiny little parts in a couple bigger things. And then a lot of indie stuff where I get to do a little more.
Those are fun, aren't they? My wife and I did a movie together. It was a William Shatner movie called The Sunday Horse.
Nice.
We did.
Dude,
I did a movie called, what was it called? 999 with Casey Affleck. I sat in a bar with him all day long.
You sat in a bar.
Oh, cool.
At
cool.
your gig.
Him and
do you have an agent?
No, I was just they just called me as an extra, and I.
Oh, okay.
I was the seedy bar patron.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. Look at you.
Yeah.
I mean, right? you and me both could.
Yeah,
you know, we're
exactly.
that guy. So
that's right.
I could be the science teacher.
I sat there. I don't smoke anymore.
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't smoke anymore, and I don't drink anymore, and I quit both of those at the same time.
Oh.
And I got hired to sit at the bar with an O'Doul's and a cigarette all day.
Yeah. Dude, that's so funny.
I looked really natural at it too. And
because you're gifted at that, as we know from the past, right?
Right.
So I love it, man. I've got to do some stunt stuff. I've gotten to beat. There's one scene in this one movie I did where I beat the shit out of this girl.
Uh-oh.
And
I've always wanted to do that.
Apparently, I mean, easy. We don't want to get canceled here. No. I mean, but you get to act out, literally you get to pretend and act out some of these fantasies that you would never really do in real life. And it's like a little piece of you that you get to bring out. And it's really just a wonderful craft that I see in other people, and that I aspire to be like some of my professional actor friends that get to really do it for a daily living, you know? And I'm like, man, and I'm just lucky that I get to do it. I just had 3 auditions last week for things. So, but here's the thing. You do the work, and with this versus music, it's similar but different.
Right.
Like I do 3 auditions. I got to sit there, study it, memorize it, tape it, send it in. And guess what? There are 250 other dudes with hair, beard, and tattoos. And I mean, if it's through the agent, the casting directors in town, there's a handful of bigger ones, or that all kind of collaborate together, kind of like the venue guys. You know, you got the center stage and this, so it's similar, right, but different. And those guys, they all like me. Yeah. This is great news. They use me occasionally, but let's book me something bigger. You know, I will say when I work, I make pretty good money if I get booked on something decent. You know, it's like I'm actually sometimes stunned at. I'm like, wow, I made how much money today for 4 hours? And, you know, but here's the thing. I get booked once every few months.
Right. Yeah. It balances
at best.
Cost
it balances out. And it's okay. And I love indie world, by the way, in films. I love indie world. Like you were saying, indie world is so much fun. And a lot of these big actors, like you're talking about, they do these indie films, man. And it's just so much fun because you get more time on screen. You get more to be more of a main character in indie world. And I say indie world, that's still on Amazon, still on Netflix, still in film festivals.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's becoming not indie world. Like, I'm watching stuff on, on Netflix and Amazon,
Hulu, all of them
that are not in the movie theater, and I like it better. Yeah.
There's so many things or series, indie series that you
binge
find.
watch.
I love, man. TV's always been kind of a thing for me since I was young. TV and music, so it's really kind of cool. I wish. Good news about that too is there's no certain age limit. You see guys that are, I think Harrison Ford was a good example, came out in his 40s, but it's fun, man. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So music and acting and yoga and motorcycles, right?
Busy guy.
It's all.
And I have a Land Cruiser.
Nice.
So
what year?
2000 100 series, man. I won an older one, but this one's still a great one. So
that's cool.
What I really want is a 1970 something FJ,
Oh, the original one, yeah. Awesome.
I mean, come on. But that's out of the old price range these days. Wow. That's a house.
It's crazy.
Well, final question, because we've got another one coming up that we got to get rolling on.
CC and the boys.
Sorry guys, I love it.
This is a really
conversation.
No, you're fun to talk to. You're an interesting guy. This is a really stupid question. I honestly really don't know why we ask it, but looking back on it, if you would start with what you know now, would you do it again? Or would you change something about what you did? Would you be a musician?
In the quick return reply is
yeah, man. I've had, like a lot of us, these life experiences, good, bad, or indifferent, and all those above, that were undeniably memoirs that we could all write about our own experiences, right? That
for sure
we got to do on a lot of levels. And I'm talking to you guys and some of the guys we're talking about. We've all been able to do some bigger things in life with music. And I think that at whatever level we're at now, with humility and experiences, that we got to do what a million people would love to do.
Yeah.
On some level during the course of our time in this music scene world.
Agreed.
Right? The three of us.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of these cats that are playing the festival. So I think that the only thing I would say that I wish that I would change is, just some decisions along the way about tours or money and having, I wish that I was a little more emotionally mature. Mm-hmm. And my man, you know what I'm talking about. My emotional maturity definitely didn't come really till a few years ago, and I'm certainly not emotionally mature.
Hey, I'm right there.
More
with you,
emotionally mature.
Right.
I'm talking to you, my man. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I wished I had that to have stood up and said, "Oh, wait, we should do this." Instead, I was kind of doing what, "Hey, go here." Okay.
Yeah. With the wind.
But, right. And again, unprecedented amount of stories and memories and experiences. And, guys, I'm happily involved with somebody, but I was single most of those years of touring. So there's that side of the other stuff. But man, I wasn't drinking and doing drugs. So you know where I went.
Right.
Shopping and hung out with girls.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, man, no, I don't. That's a great question, actually.
Okay.
That's not bad. That's a
because that was the way
question.
Different answer than any of the ones we've gotten up to now.
Yeah, it was
really.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was.
For other people, like I would have gone to college and got a master's.
You get the basic. It didn't. I didn't pick it. It picked me. Which is true.
Well,
there's truth to that. But your answer.
But I worked hard.
Yeah.
I worked hard, and going back to Corey.
Yeah.
In the rec room.
Yeah.
And those guys, I started sneaking into places out of the house, sneaking into places like that, getting in with, Mark Willis and all these cats. But it was all kind of almost a sneaky kind of a way to get in with some of these cats and working
Right.
to get in that whatever, the crowd, the group, the trend, whatever, the group of people who I saw were doing great stuff, bigger stuff, and I knew I had to be a part of this.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do to get there?
Yeah.
And as a good old addict, man, you got tunnel vision sometimes.
Yeah.
And buddy, it worked in that favor at that time. And I think that, hear what he said. So, dude, guys, this has been fun.
Oh,
Thank you
that's
so
great.
much for having me on. And let me know when this airs, and I would love to, I'll spread it around and all that stuff.
Well, I will, I'll tag you. I try to tag everybody
please.
with this, and we'll definitely get you the stuff. And we'll definitely have you on after the showcase to talk about how it went for everybody.
We could talk. Yeah. We've got another hour and a half in us, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I love listen, I love watching Joe Rogan. I love listening to Joe Rogan, but I love watching it sometimes.
I do too.
Us too.
Hey, last question. This doesn't have to be on the air. I was just curious about, we were talking about in-ears and all that stuff. Have you guys played or been to the 10 High recently?
Yes. I did the showcase last year.
I mean in the last few months, couple months.
We just had Curtis on talking about, he's done some upgrades with the PA and some different things.
So that was what I was asking. He said there's so much side stuff that I'm going to hear is if there are monitors in the front, because he took the monitors away.
Yeah. Okay.
That was I texted him about that, and he goes, dude, he said he might, well, maybe, he said he might put a front again, but he wasn't sure. But he said regardless, because the stage is so small. I mean,
he's claiming that it's the best it's ever sounded.
Yeah. And it was always,
listen, he's always been a talented, musician, but also sound guy.
There's another guy that just grinds it, no choice but to do it,
Yeah. And I feel like, so anyway, that was my concern about not having a front wedge, because that's always, and you guys know, whether it's the big or small venues, you've always got a front wedge.
Yeah.
Even if you have in-ears or plugs or whatever, you've got a front wedge.
Yeah.
And granted, the room is small, but he assured me, he goes, man, there's those side fills are still there. You're going to hear it coming from both ends. I'm like, all right, well, this is getting our feet wet. I haven't done this in a hot minute since I did the Van Halen tribute with Jeff Woods on drums.
Yeah.
It was me, Jeff, and Smitty, and we did the traditional what Smitty and I used to do 100 years ago. The Really Got Me, his eruption entrance, and You Really Got Me.
Yeah.
Well, the wedges were still there.
Well, there are 9 bands ahead of your set, so it'll
get worked out.
I think that if there's an issue, it'll be handled. So
right, I'm sure. So
hey, Cleve, man.
Well, guys, I look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, it was great meeting you, man.
Yeah, and we'll have you on after the show.
That'd be fun.
Again, 8-10 p.m. on the 12th at the 10 High. Come see Ghost of You. All right, we'll see you
guys. Thanks, guys.
Take care, Cleve.
All right, buddy. You too. Bye-bye.
You're watching the Original Music Atlanta podcast.